page of the staff report with some items that they want to review, and I think here is, which is expected, but our cash has decreased about 3.3 million from the last period, which is expected. We're doing a lot of projects. Our total portfolio just about 0.87%, with an average of 324 days. That's a little increase from last month. And a lot of details. If you probably had a chance to look at them, wants to look at them. The preceding pages right there. But really, I think it's not expected, and so everything looks in good shape. We just can't keep doing these building projects forever, though, because each month we increase our cash reserves.
I'll go to the treasury report.
Okay.
Shelley Sourcewell?
Yes.
Keith Dias?
Yes.
Frank Donato?
Yes.
George Lane?
Yes.
Robert Parris?
Yes.
Marlon Barnes?
Yes.
Neil Weiss?
Yes. Motion carried. Membership. It's something that we've done in the past, and staff feels it's worthwhile. It's a nominal amount. The planning committee recommends that we renew our membership at $55.
Order 16.
Motion for good.
I'll second.
You guys have all?
Yes.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary.
Shelley Sourcewell?
Yes.
Keith Dias?
Yes.
Frank Donato?
Yes.
George Lane?
Yes.
Robert Parris?
Yes.
Marlon Barnes?
Yes.
Neil Weiss?
Yes. Motion carried. The last item in the finance committee is state water contractors. It's a member dues, and it's a very substantial amount, a very substantial increase over last year. And our manager has some comments and recommendations.
Yes, based on the increased activities of the state water contractors on behalf of the other state water contractors, we thought it would be prudent to have the executive director of the staff come down, discuss what they're doing with on our behalf, and to just get a real good understanding of what they're trying to accomplish for us. And because it is such a substantial investment in the organization. So with that in mind, we're recommending that we continue this item to allow time for the state water contractor staff to come down and present to our finance committee to look into their anticipated costs, and also take a little bit of look at the future, because it appears that there's going to be a lot more coming this way. It would be important to know, that these costs are going to escalate and
Thank you. And the committee also reviewed all the other bills, the attorneys, contractor bills, and all the bills before us tonight. And we recommend those. Okay, if there's no further questions, we're going to move on to item number B, the Adjudication Watermaster Committee. And are we looking to staff or director who's going to start that?
I'll go ahead and start off, if that's okay. There was an adjudication meeting, the first official adjudication meeting of the full interim Watermaster Board on August 17, 2016. It was meeting lasted a good 2 hours or so, I'd say. There was a lot of discussion at the first meeting, and it's very clear that this is going to be a process. It's going to take some time to fully understand all the issues and the ramifications that are going to be derived from that. And by and large, I thought it was a very good meeting at the start. And there's certainly a lot more meetings that will be necessary in order to get that first year's work done, which it's going to be quite a challenge. that being said, there was a proposal made by the public water suppliers representative to move forward with the concept of having the water purveyors agency as a group act as a kind of interim watermaster and to share the support responsibilities amongst that group. And having talked a little bit, after the meeting with Matt Knudsen, who's the, I guess he'd be the executive director of the Antelope Valley Water Contractors Association, we kind of got a better understanding because this proposal came, at the meeting. We didn't have a lot of time to talk about it, and afterwards we were able to talk, and we understand that, and we both agreed that whoever doing this administration by committee is probably a good way to increase our transparency. Making sure that everybody has a chance to have input with regards to administrative functions as they would like to. And then we also agreed that each party that's going to participate is going to cover their own costs, so that there's, if you're going to be involved, you're going to cover your own costs. And so I think that was some fairly important concepts, because the way the current structure is structured, any costs associated with the Antelope Valley Water Contractors Association is paid based on a take rate amount, and we both agreed that that wouldn't work for this kind of any type of relationship. But that if we had shared expense based on the input, that would be a good way to go. And so, but with that, I think that want to open it up for the board to discuss it in any way. There's a meeting coming up on, let's say September 1st but the AV Water Contractors, I think, are September.
Just a little clarification, and so this is the proposal right now, and so absent objections is the way.
Well, I think it's a proposal right now.
I have some questions. So when you're done, I want to ask a question.
Sure, and it's just a proposal right now, and we wanted to bring it before the board tonight just to have some discussion, because as our representatives Neil and Keith attend the meeting in early September, there's going to be more discussion, and this would provide an opportunity for the board to have some discussion.
And this is a temporary.
It's a temporary thing for a certain period of time, and we're anticipating that it would only be until such time as when the Watermaster engineer is brought on board, and then we'll have another chance to relook it all over again and determine what the Watermaster engineer is going to do, and then what is really required of.
Okay, Frank, you had some comments?
Yeah, okay, first of all, I need to understand something better, clarify something. The AV JPA, between three state water contractors, who wants to spend money? I mean, first of all, why is this group spending any money on the Watermaster meetings or input? They're the same people. It's being redundant. If that's what you're saying, that makes no sense at all. You got two of the three directors on the Watermaster group who are the same people representing the JPA. And so are you saying that the JPA of this group is going to spend money for input for the Watermasters?
I think what I'm...
Can I respond?
Sure.
Frank, this is Rob. What the recommendation was is to look to the AV State Water Contractors to take over the administrative functions for the Watermaster Board until such time that we have a Watermaster engineer And so it was a brand new recommendation at that time. It was something that we still need to explore, but that's the intent of the recommendation by the public water suppliers. So what we told them is...
Oh, wait. So the public water suppliers, who are they?
They're that's the Palmdale and Littlerock and Rosemont, and Quartz Hill, and Waterworks 40, and all the public water suppliers in the valley. So they have...
Okay, so they want the JPA to do the administrative work instead of AVEK, and are they all gonna pay for that? Because they're not part of it.
The recommendation is that the JPA would advance the funds until the Watermaster Board starts getting revenue and it would be reimbursed. But again...
Well, I'm feeling now, I'm totally against that, because we don't have double dipping in ours. We have a system right now, and if they don't like AVEK being the administrator, that's fine. But to take money that we're already putting in the kitty, that's being I think it's completely being misused with this organization. That's ridiculous. I mean, I can't even believe somebody even accepted something like that. That they're going to take JPA money that's coming from the 3 state water contractors, who are the same people, and we're gonna absorb that money, which you just did with politically, is basically say that we're doing it for free. To absorb, I don't think that's right. And you got two of the 3 directors on the state water contractors are the same people on the board of directors.
Frank, this was a recommendation. Nobody agreed to it at the meeting. There were the public water suppliers.
Is that Tony there? Is it Bill there?
Bill is here.
Yes.
Bill, I think it's a conflict of interest of public funds. I don't see how the 2 of the 3 of the directors, who are also the same boards that are putting money in the kitty to this organization, to absorb public funds like that.
This is a surprise, but to me it makes no sense. And I've sat in a few of the contract meetings.
It does not make sense.
It does not make sense. And if people want input for the agendas and so on, as best I know, Dwayne and Patty have not refused anything that wants to go on the agenda. To me, it's just another layer, as Frank says, of bureaucracy. The best thing we can do is get the engineer up and going and let AVEK continue to provide the administrative.
This is going to be a temporary, probably 6 months plus or minus, or
Hopefully less.
George, this is a recommendation, Frank, this is a recommendation made by the public water suppliers. It was not.
Yeah, but they're the same people.
Frank,
Yeah.
please let me finish.
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate it. This wasn't anything that was agreed on. The recommendation was take it to the JPA, talk to them about it, but none of the landowners nor did AVEK agree to this at all. This was something, take it to them, see if they're even interested in what form it will come back on. But there was no agreement, there was no motion to send it to them. It was just recommended go talk to them. Well, we are a major member of that group, and we need to see how it shakes out and what develops. And the JPA requires, from what I understand, Neil is here, is on it, requires a unanimous vote to agree on anything. So nothing's going to happen without the agreement of AVEK at this point, or the other 2, Littlerock or Palmdale. So the recommendation, not even recommendation, we're going to have that discussion at the next meeting. It will be on their agenda, and see how that shakes out. In the meantime, Dwayne will be talking to the other, probably GMs, at least Matt, our assistant chief, and see what type of form this could take. So, go ahead, Teresa.
Any other comments?
I understand at the same meeting that they presented some bylaws that they wanted to present, which should be accepted. Rules and regs.
Rules and regs, that's
Okay,
right.
is this the appropriate time to do that, or does it say that it's to be done by the watermaster engineer once he's
I think
given
there's
the job?
people on the board, including myself, that believes that should be something done with the water master engineer.
But is that not something that's in writing in the adjudication?
No, the water master, the rules and regulations have to be submitted to the court before there's any approval.
But doesn't it say that if the watermaster's to do it, not
Yes.
The engineer
the
should
engineer?
prepare the rules and
engineer. So
regulations.
they're trying to bypass that. It seems to me.
They're trying to seize control of
Yeah, but I think that
process.
we need to stop now, because that's not what the
Exactly.
adjudication
I agree
calls for.
100%. I agree 100%.
And not-
And I can't believe it, even this has been discussed a long time ago.
Hey,
I think
Frank,
almost everyone
Frank, Shelley wasn't through.
Yeah, and I think we should choose not to participate because they're taking it out of turn. It's not the proper time to be doing that. Well, yeah, we have certain things that need to be done. We need to get a water master engineer, period. That's what needs to be done.
Frank Shelley's done it.
Okay, we've got a,
Okay, thank you. I can't, so I'm not what you said. I agree with you. And you know what's interesting? The people that are making these rules and regulations never showed up at the court, never been involved in the discussions. And all that stuff has already been ironed out that once they get the 5-member board in place, and once the 5 board members unanimously pick a general manager to work with them, then they were gonna sit down at the table and start putting the bylaws together.
positive to present, and maybe this is not perfect, I'm not involved in these, meetings at all, but anything we do should be temporary in nature. Okay, we got a,
George, I appreciate what you say, but this is not the time to renegotiate. We need to stick to what the adjudication says and do things in the order that it says. Otherwise, we're going to be starting all over. It took 15 years to get where we're at, and it's going to be starting over with this board.
And one thing I will point out, there's two separate issues. One here has the rules and regulations, which I think is pretty black and white of how that was going to proceed. But the administration of the Watermaster administration has a lot of
okay, we got a comment.
Mr. President, Ed McKay, I was attending that meeting, and one of the things that I took away from what we're discussing right now is that the lawyers that were there.
Can't do that person.
We got a speaker, may help.
Frank, this is Ed McKay, and I was at the meeting, and one of the things that I took away from this meeting was that the lawyers were there and they were presenting or wanting to present rules and regulations from other watermaster agencies so that this group would have something to start with. They weren't going to have to reinvent the wheel. And so it was just something that they were putting out so that everybody would, have something to start with.
Okay, thank you. Joe? It doesn't seem like support for this proposal, so we'll leave the committee to work with staff and heard some different things, but we're going to come back with and at this point, not in support of that, looking back for alternatives.
Well, we're kind of going to go from committee to committee. It's going to go, what do you want commissioners on Antelope Valley State Water Contractors to say when this comes up in our meeting on the 8th? That we're not in favor of it. I haven't heard a vote on that, or we're still listening and, but I don't know how we need to respond at that meeting. We need the directions probably on who's going to administrate.
As your representative on the Watermaster Court, my recommendation is that this is the process. Nothing has been agreed to, nothing has been approved. The action items for September 1st meeting, the main action items, is to start a process to get the Watermaster engineer, the interim, for recommendation Parris and Parris that landowners or AVEK is not involved. It's not consensus to move forward on those. There's no motion on the table. There's nothing passed. So the focus, I mean, for the first meeting, I felt it went very well. I felt we got a consensus on everything we did. Because it takes 5 votes to do anything. And I believe we're moving forward as quickly as we can. The next meeting is going to be focused on the advisory committee, how we get them at the advisory committee, because we have to have the advisory committee in place before we select the watermaster engineer simultaneously. We'll be working on a search for the watermaster engineer.
Well, for clarification there, one of the first things, we're in the advisory committee and going forward to try to find a watermaster. And again, I have not attended any of those meetings, so it was just for clarification, but was not this part of the reason the state water contractors group, you have to have somebody, it's gonna look for that watermaster. I mean, who's gonna do it?
That's going to be the watermaster board.
Well,
No, it's not going to be an administrative.
the watermaster board,
It is
I don't think a lot of individuals are gonna go out and start looking for them. You have to have some support. Or I think you would have some support from staff. Is that not the reason, or is that not?
Well, we want to hire a search firm like we did.
But somebody's gotta do that. It just doesn't happen over. You just can't say, I want to hire a search firm. Was the reason to have the state water contractors is to have the help from the staff versus AVEK or versus Palmdale?
The reason for the state water, the recommendation for the state water contractors, I believe, is just an attempt to take the administrative functions from AVEK. But at the same time, AVEK is a major member of the state water contractors, so it's an attempt to broaden the umbrella, which isn't, may not be bad. I think we have to.
It may not be, but.
We have to have conversations, and we have to see what form that might take.
And we did a search firm before. It just doesn't happen overnight. There's work that goes into it. So physically, who's going to do that? And I take it that people do not want AVEK to be the sole person.
I take it that there's members on the watermaster board that doesn't want AVEK to be the sole administrator. But that doesn't mean that we want to play a major role as an administrator. Again, everything we do has to take a 5 vote, so we can't, we have to be open to the process, we have to be inclusive, and we have to work through these issues.
Okay, so it appears the board does not want to go with this concept, but we're asking staff and our committee to go forward with recommendations to express that at the next meeting and to try to have some alternatives. But this is not a high priority. Is that correct?
Part of the problem, if I'm hearing this correctly, is a monetary problem, because who's gonna pay for it if it's with the state water? We pay 85% of what goes into there now, so then LA County Waterworks, all these other entities aren't gonna be contributing under this umbrella unless we have a separate JPA or something.
Well, there are mechanisms that would allow others to contribute, financially, and also, staff time and things like that.
That's a good point.
But we don't have, we don't know exactly what they're going to propose, what the structure is going to be or how it's going to work out. And what we're attempting to do is try and develop a system, so to speak, that would protect the agency from the financial costs and allow us to have input on the administration.
Yeah, because I don't think, I don't know that I object to us not handling the administrator part, but I object to pay for the administration when others are not.
Well, it was under my impression that the five-member watermaster board was going to hire the search firm, but they needed some help with the financing.
Can I say something? I mean, it's not there. Yeah, here's the thing. I think something should be brought to and say AVEK would be, helping in funding the startup money to do this, but in the agreement that they pay us back after it's done. But let me explain something about the school back to the state of JPA. We're 85% of that. So anything we ask is still in that. And I'm not going to support giving free money to the group. If they want to go ahead and borrow $500,000 to get this group started, or to need some seed money to pay us back after they get the formalities put together, an agreement with AVEK, I would support something like that. I think that would be helpful. But to go around and try to leave something to the state APA, say, we'll split the cost and rotate the people, what are you talking about? 85% of that all AVEK. AVEK's paying that cost. So I mean, I'm having a problem with that.
Okay, Frank, I think that right now, I was there at the meeting, and I'm a young one too, but all they were asking was that the state water contractors basically do the agendas and do what we've been doing here about organization of agendas, and nothing more than that as an administrative cost unless something is directed by the water board with money attached, is the way I kind of understood it. And it was temporary until...
Okay, but Neil, I agree, okay, I agree with that. But the problem is, it's still 85% AVEK. This state water JPA has nothing to do with the 5-member board. It's a super separate entity. It has nothing to do with it whatsoever. So if you want to say that Palmdale and Littlerock, that's still at 33 and a third apart, or take the 100 people out there, Roseman, Fletch Hill, Palmdale, and all them put them in the thing, if we split them equally, that's a different issue. But to say that the JPA, which is 85% AVEK, and they will look like they're all split it, that's not correct.
Well, maybe it should be limited to administrative duties at the board.
Well, I look at it the other way.
No financial above, give a limit, but I would agree if we start going into something financial, there probably should be more than the state water contractors. Maybe you should be all of them.
Right now, this board has agreed to kind of front the administrative costs to get the meetings going at 100%. If it goes to the state water contractor,
No, we can pay that.
with the possibility of us getting paid back. So if it goes to the state water contractors, now we're only hung up for 85% instead of 100%. It's actually financially better for us to split it because...
Okay, nobody said that, Neil. If you would have said that it would be reimbursement costs between the state water contractors, whether it's that entity or AVEK or whatever, that's a different issue, but nobody said that up front.
Frank, this is Rob. The intent of all this is whatever funds AVEK fronts the Watermaster Board, that we would put in a bill and they're aware of that. If the state water contractors become involved, then it would be split up somewhat differently. All I can say is, I think right now there's an overreaction. Let's just talk to them, have conversation, and figure out what we can bring back to the board to recommend.
There's not a motion in general. I think we need to approve or deny anything tonight. And if we have a consensus that the committee can deal and bring something back to the board, and they hear the feelings of the board, we don't want to get too involved, financially. If we can do some administrative help, but nothing, the board's not making a mandate, would that be agreeable to the board? No. The committee could go forward and try to negotiate and come back to the board with the recommendation.
Let me tell you,
I agree with that. I agree with that, George.
Let me tell you what my understanding is, as far as your representative on board, is that we have agreed to help with administrative functions. We have agreed until the Watermaster Board can come up with a solution to this. We have agreed to advance costs with the understanding that it takes a 5-0 vote, with the understanding that we will likely be reimbursed for all the costs that we put into it. And that's what I told them. That's what my understanding and direction was, because if we don't take the leadership, if we did not take the will be trying to form a water master.
I think,
And we need to continue taking the leadership, but we have to do it in a way of cooperation. And cooperation could be including the state water provider group. Let us discuss, let's see what we can come back with. We should be moving as a board towards regionalization of water resources.
well, I think we have a consensus to go forward.
I just want to make sure you guys understand what I've been told.
I have a couple of comments on the two things we have done. One, the advisory committee formation, blah, 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 whatever it is, that it's supposed to be done by the producers. And I know this is kind of a conceptual thing that's the board needs to think about. When we got the landowner group together to get this thing settled, we kind of start the meetings and we left and let them take care of it. And then we had an issue with voting for that landowner group. And I met with a couple and said, hey, we took neutral, so that's why I decided not to vote for the deal, because we were being neutral in this. And they kind of didn't like that. If we're a producer or if we're a landowner at this point forward, I think we should be involved in those discussions and not leave the room, because, you know, we can't be in a setup, yes, you can vote, but you can't participate. So it's either we got to participate and vote, or we got to not vote and not participate. And I think we're past that, and we need to be participating. And so the second part of this, and I'm not, Rob's done a great job, and I'm not trying to throw this at Rob, but I don't think the board has given Rob the authority to vote on behalf of the board. And everything he's voted on right now are all procedural things, so it's not a big deal. Well, you agreed in, you know, but at the time when it gets to the water master or the advisory committee, it goes to some sort of vote. I don't know how we've never set up a procedure ourselves on how to give Rob, whether we're coming back, you know, once the rules are read.
Everything right now, but
Yeah.
they've got enough resolved that.
But it's going to come close, you know. I could see, since there's only probably LA County Sanitation District, well, there's going to be some purveyors that are going to be on there, they're going to have a board. But most of them are going to be farmers that are going to have to go back and talk to themselves and decide how they're going to vote. And so we're going to be kind of that odd group, and they're all going to say, well, you're slowing us down, and make a decision now, and we can't, because it's going to have to.
LA County Water Works.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
they're not
set
either.
up.
I mean, they're 3 months probably by the time they get it
We're
on
still
to,
trying to put everything together, so
Yeah.
I think you've got enough on your plate right now.
well, I think it's not his plate. I think it's our plate to decide how we want to direct, whether it's Rob or whether it's Dwayne, as on how to vote, or how we're going to go through the process of voting when it gets to the meeting. Right now, we're doing a little.
Maybe we'll just keep this on the agenda and talk about it.
Yeah, this needs to be on every one of our meeting agendas. We will discuss what's going on. There's nothing to be alarmed about right now.
Yeah, I'm not
It is a
alarmed. But
process. It was a very good meeting. We got a lot accomplished, and we will continue to.
That's when there's something to be alarmed about. You see that? I've heard that before.
Or be alarmed and rant and rave, but nothing.
Well, what's alarming to me, Rob, is that at the last meeting, they presented those rules and regulations,
Who
not
cares?
in order.
Who cares? Not out of order.
It's not good.
They
It's
can
not time for
present
that.
anything they want on the agenda. Who cares? We didn't take any action on it. We won't take any action unless they get a 5-0 vote. I don't think that's going to happen until there's a water master.
Okay. As long as we don't care, we're not just gonna.
Well, there's nothing that can happen without our agreement for it to happen, and the same with them.
Justice Roby, I know Frank will probably remember this process, but Justice Roby asked me to send down 5 sets of rules and regulations to everybody that was attending that process in Sacramento. And I'm sure the stuff that was submitted was just a compilation of those existing rules, but you haven't asked for my suggestion, but I would ask the people with the JPA to put together what they want to see. and how they intend to fund it. And that way, it forces them to commit, and then it comes back to you guys for a up or down vote. So make them commit in writing. Make them commit as to financing mechanism. And, you know, I defy them to say that we have kept things off the agenda, because if anything,
That was never even brought up.
No, it's just,
You're right.
and I asked just to go, and I'm not trying to go around the board and be strange, to make sure that Bill got it, their attorney got it, Littlerock's attorney got it, because we were gonna do attorneys by committee. Because what attorney is gonna represent the Watermaster group? So if the 3 attorneys could agree that the MOU basically says, we're gonna do only what the Watermaster group tells us to do and be reimbursed at a future date, you know, they can't go out any farther and it's all set, so.
This is a process where we have to build trust. We've had 16 years of people fighting each other, and it's not going to resolve itself overnight. The first meeting was a good step forward, and yes, a lot of things were put forth we weren't expecting, but that's fine.
You know, we can talk about this all night. We get five new members. We're just trying to figure out what's what, and if they have too much on the agenda, the next meeting we're not going to get anything done. It's going to have to be done on a step-by-step basis, and a lot of it's going to figure itself out. You know, but once you're having it at a time, things are going to be different. This time next year is going to be a lot different.
The only thing I just want to keep, I'm going to say one more time, because it's not that I'm upset, down, or whatever, but if the next special meeting is talking on advisory committee, who is representing this organization in that discussion? Is the committee doing it? Is Rob doing it? Is staff doing it? Because if we're going to say we're going to be involved in it, how are we going to be involved?
If we're involved, my recommendation, if we're involved as the producers, that we continue just like we did when we were helping, working with the landowners, producers.
So we can't leave the room, we've got to be part of the discussion.
No, I agree with that, and I think if you recall, by time the 3rd meeting came around, we were part of the discussion. It was the first couple of meetings that we felt we should be, but Dwayne was always, Dwayne was the one doing the meeting. So we as directors have to do it. And my recommendation is we continue the same thing.
Let's move on.
George, we got to decide this, though. We don't have a meeting between now and the next producers.
We got to decide who's our,
You know, who's going to, because are we going to let every director talk, or are we going to, you know, our directors are not talking? That's, because this is happening before our next board meeting. So.
yeah.
They're going to discuss right now. Our committee members are going to discuss. They're not going to make a decision, and they're going to come back to the board. And this is all very conceptual at this point. And I don't think any would want one person at this point starting off with formation, making decisions that may not be the wish of the board. And at some point, you know, once you get a little bit further organized, that may be the point. But what we start now is probably going to be happening in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. So we better be being careful. Rob first started on, that was temporary. I think Frank made the motion, that was temporary. We thought at some point our general managers be in that position. So I think we're jumping the gun, and let's go forward with what we are. And we're not going to be much different than any other group that's attending those meetings.
I know, but they're going to have a special meeting to set up the advisory committee, or start the discussion on how to set up the advisory committee. That's going to happen before our next board meeting. Who's going to represent this organization at what level in the committee
No, but
advisory?
Dwayne, did we already say it?
If I could make a recommendation here, quickly, I will be at that meeting, I'll be happy to attend and participate, and then come back and report back. I won't make any decisions or anything, or commit, AVEK to anything, but I'll come back and report back to the board as to what occurred on that.
Because I'm going to be at that meeting too, and I want to let Dwayne do it, and not be 3 different directors saying 3 different things.
I thought that the advisory was going to be staff, it wasn't going to be a director.
The advisory committee, this is the process, what we're going to discuss at the next special meeting, among other things, reason for the special meeting is to discuss the process to set up the advisory committee, adjudication for the circulation calls for it to be set up through the producers, and which the producers should be the same as on Exhibit 4, plus some. And so I'm envisioning that we're going to have another meeting with all the landowners and everybody that can come out, and Wayne will lead it like he did before and help them reach consensus. And we will be, as the Watermaster Board, the five of us will watch that process and see how it goes and make sure it goes correctly.
But you're gonna be there.
Right. And I think that was Neil's recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Make one clarification. You kept saying it's September 1st, but is that
It is September 2nd. Correct. Friday, September 2nd.
We've got a general consensus, we're not making any motion in absent of any dissent among that. I think we understand what we're gonna do.
Staff has direction.
And Frank and Keith, are you there?
Yeah, but yeah. Well, everything's fine. I like that idea.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Water projects committee reviewed a recommendation from Cal City Construction to do some subcontractor substitutions. Primarily, the contractors in question have asked to be released, and subcontractors have been requested to be included on the list. And that is in order to try and meet the schedule as the contractor is trying to comply with contractual obligations. And those contractors are associated with the electrical, the metal decking, the site concrete work, and the metal roof and wall panels. So as I indicated, these subcontractors can't be released unless the board agrees to that. And staff would recommend that we allow the substitution of the subcontractors in order to facilitate maintaining the schedule.
Okay, so we've got,
I'll move on board,
6C1.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
I have a question.
Second.
Have the contractors, subcontractors been checked out then?
Yes.
And they have financial means and they have good background that they've completed jobs in time manner and such?
I'm trying to, follow this in a board order and approve Cal City Construction subcontractor substitution request. And we've got 4 different contractors.
Correct.
Is that all?
Yes. So there's 4 different subcontractors.
That's part of. Okay.
Were any of these subcontractors local contractors that are being replaced with out-of-area contractors?
Yes, there was a couple out of the area that were substituted with
In-area contractors? So we're
That's good.
working towards getting more people.
I think it's about a third. Looked like a third.
So there were some that were and some that weren't.
Before their steel was, now they're not, and then I think the concrete wasn't and now is. So, at least I looked by addresses on their letters.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Shelley Sorsable?
Yes.
Keith Dias?
Yes.
Frank Donato?
Yeah.
George Lane?
Yes.
Robert Parris?
Yes.
Marlon Barnes?
Yes.
Neil Weiss?
Yes.
Staff is going to present, and we're going to be meet plans for meetings before the next committee meeting in order to present some of our additional planning and capital plans to the strategic planning committee to consider. It's kind of a discussion. Trying to make this a competition.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still at our 60%. Orville's reduced down to 82% of average, so it's a low average. Good point. San Luis Reservoir is at 29% of average.
the same topic that we talked about previously. And, you know, our northern precipitation still looks very good. Here's a graph that kind of shows you Lake Oroville. You know, the yellow arrow there is an indication of where the reservoir is today. The blue shaded line is average, so you can see that it's below average. We were above average for a considerable amount of the time through the year. And then these various graphs, whether they're you know, the red lines are various years, whether they were, the triangle line is 77, 78, and what's the other one, 76 and 77 there. So you can see the difference between, you know, the driest year. And so we're, you know, Oroville's doing pretty well, actually, all things considered. Okay, but here's San Luis. You can see the difference in San Luis, that San Luis is way down, and this is the period where it is, you know, it does hit its lowest. And you can see there is a little bit of an upward trend there in the San Luis Reservoir, but you can see it's still pretty dry. Pretty well. Let's see. Something's happening here. Okay, the next graph is the one that we use, the aid station, and you can see once again that we're ahead of, you know, looking at 57.8 inches, 50 inches is our average, so you know, not much going on there. We don't anticipate much. AVEK operations, you know, Quartz Hill, we're doing 48 million gallons a day. You know, you can see the difference from last year, and you know, we're using about 6.5 million gallons a day at Grossman. The east side is going to 3.5. So these, you know, a little bit more than what we had done the previous year.
Can we just go back to one slide, please? That's one heck of a difference between 48 and 18. Is a little of that because of water quality from the county?
It's primarily because we're using more surface water. We're not using as much water from our water bank operations where we had previously used pumped water, because we had 60% here, we had more surface water from streams. You know, west side wells going to LA County is about 1.3, and these were much higher numbers last year at this particular time. And then, you know, our east side banking blending process project, that's, we're going to begin recharge again in September. And, you know, our pump-in program, you know, we're still operating the wells to pump back in to test, and everything seems to be going really well there. And we did receive our state water Resource Control Board well permits for the bench ranch project. So, those facilities. Water quality is still relatively good, stable. Our last samples were taken on August 18th. We expect those results next week to come back. We don't anticipate any problems with regards to water quality. Some status and updates. The auditors will be here to audit our books on the week of September 12th. And as we all talked about, there will be a special watermaster report meeting September 2nd. There's also, I will be at a Delta compliance meeting on August 31st, meeting up in Sacramento. And the State Water Contractor Extension EIR is out for public review. Comments are due by October 17, 2016. I've asked Dan to provide us a report on that at the next board meeting, some background with regards to the pertinent issues associated with the water supply contract extension, since he worked so hard on it for all those years. Any questions?
Yes. Thank you.
I concur.
And Neil, I got one thing, and it really probably goes back to the adjudication, but I want to thank Rob for running a good meeting, and two, for those, I don't know how much you filled in or heard or saw, but I hope it doesn't become tradition, but one of our problems with Binge Ranch and our mill fields and stuff came up in open session, and it gave a speaking platform for a more public display and coming to our meeting and complaining about what was going on and didn't like what happened. Those were there. Gary Godey came in and complained about Binge Ranch. Yeah, came in and complained about Binge Ranch and pumping the wells down and our well fields, and they came and complained here earlier, and we thought we kind of answered their questions, but they came to that one and kind of blasted us at the beginning, and then at the end, the whole water bank blasted us on the water bank into that. And it's going to happen, but I just see that somebody's going to be mad at Roseman Water Community Service District and come there to blast to make a bigger public thing, and then somebody's going to be mad at somebody else, and we're going to lose the whole effectiveness of the meeting because everybody coming in and doing a public platform because they don't like the way somebody's treating them.
In AVEK, staff and directors, I think do a good job.
Yeah, they did a good job. I think Rob did a real good job of not being confrontational with him and saying, well, we'll get back with him. But and that's not what I was really worried about. I just worried that our meeting was going to get sidetracked with everybody coming in and complaining about what somebody else is doing. And that's only an observation. So,
Thank you.
George, actually, just to follow up on that, I did tell Gary that we would contact him.
And we have, and got an information he requested.
He knows when we come anytime and talk to us. We've taken action on the landowners as well.
Now, this is fairly new, so this is, we had the problem.
Yeah,
It's the same issue that he had brought to our attention. We've been working on it.
and it's almost resolved.
We were talking about this months ago,
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah, there is. There is a resolution. That's almost done.
Yeah, that'll go.
Takes time.
I was aware of this. Bill?
Nothing.
Thank you. Ed? Going to our old business, adopted our budget for 2016, 2017. And the Finance Committee did look at it, we reviewed it in detail, yesterday. And there was some minor changes, is that?
Right. There was as we went through the revenue side, there was an area where we combined two numbers into one column that should have been, which looked like we had more revenue in that column, so we might have understated our revenue, but we had inadvertently not included that appropriately in the right column. So there was really too much revenue in that column. When we put it in the right columns, it all worked out. So same amount of revenue, everything's fine. And so I think it was kind of a clerical error more than anything else. It did look awful funny from when you look at it. Just
Frank,
that one
Frank
line
and Neil, did you hear that okay?
Yeah.
In the Finance Committee, it recommends the board approve the budget.
I move on board 11A to approve the 16-17 budget.
Motion to the second. There's no further discussion. Madam Secretary?
Shelley Sorsable?
Yes.
Keith Dias?
Yes.
Frank Donato?
Yes.
George Lane?
Yes.
Robert Parris?
Yes.
Marlon Barnes?
Yes.
And White?
Yes.
direction to the staff, we have completed all the things that are necessary to close this escrow. It's a 40-acre parcel that's located within our enterprise zone, our enterprise water bank area, and we're ready to close escrow. We'll need to have this resolution adopted before we can complete that transaction.
consistent with the terms and conditions that were
We
previously discussed.
the board's
Previously approved this, it's 40 acres, $5,000.
Hey, is there
I'll move on
any
board.
questions about the
I'll move
motion?
on board order establishing fee.
Well, Lawrence?
Second.
Commissioner Small? No further discussion? Madam Secretary?
Shelley Sourcewell.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yeah.
Frank Tomato.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes.
Robert Parris.
Yes.
Alan Barnes.
Yes.
And Weissman.
Yes.
Motion carried. That brings us on to the closed session, and there's nothing in the closed session.
So need to close session.
So it brings us to adjournment.